Love the chorus in that Wild Sweet Orange song, 10 Dead Dogs. Oh my God, is this really what you want? Would you tell us if it's not? And could you rewrite the plot and come and get us? Because we can't stop doing what we think we want, even though we know it's not. This place is merely a subplot to come and get us. And I do think that all of creation is groaning, including all of us, like it's giving birth. And we're yearning for something more, waiting for some kind of answer to come, hoping against all hope that there is something new, something different, something alive, something real, that all of this and all of our time will one day make sense and be right. Do you ever struggle with the meaning of your life? Ask, why am I here? What really is all of this about? Philosophers for years have said that an unexamined life is not worth living. So I'm back from holidays, 3 weeks of fun and food and wine and food and cycling and food and family and travel from the BC interior to Muskoka in northern Ontario. I just had a great, great holiday, visiting a lot of my family for my parents' 50th anniversary in Ontario, so that was a great reunion. And then Sunday night, last Sunday night, the day before we're scheduled to fly back to Calgary, I'm at my wife Fran's place, and her parents have a place that's settled among the vineyards of the Niagara Peninsula, and it's a family time, and all of those things I mentioned are flowing and going wonderfully, and people are playing games over in the field, and others are just talking and catching up. And my phone rings, and it's a call from my sister, and my sister is in tears, saying, our whole family, we're really weepy, emotional types, all right? So this is partly that and partly an important, very important phone call. She goes, Dad's in the hospital in Bracebridge. We just left him the day before. He'd had headaches for a couple of days and was missing out on some of the family stuff. Dad's in the hospital in Bracebridge. He's got bleeding on his brain. They're rushing him by ambulance to Sunnybrook in Toronto, and they got to do surgery to get rid of the blood on his brain, tout de suite. And she didn't know any more details about what had happened at that point, but she was hugely upset, so I, of course, was hugely upset. My dad was swimming, trying to get rid of his headache, and the pressure from the blood on his brain, they figure about 500 to 600 mLs in his 1,500 mL cranial cavity. So his brain was squeezed about 1.5 centimeters to the one side. The pressure was so intense that while he was swimming, he couldn't use his arms anymore, and he was starting to drown. And my mom is screaming to the neighbors to save her husband. And so they're all diving in the water, and they're pulling my dad out, and they get him to the ambulance. Anyway, the whole thing plays out. And I get this call. And I tell you all of that because something happened in that moment, which maybe you've had happen in one of those moments where all of reality, all of the serious stuff you were talking about, all of the joy and pleasure and the leisure you were experiencing, everything that you were doing in that day, in fact, everything that we had done on that holiday, in fact, everything it seemed that we'd done for weeks and months in our lives, in my life, it all just faded into the background. And all that mattered was this relationship with this man, my dad. It's like the volume on everything was just turned way, way down. And I remember calling my daughter Sarah over, who was playing a game with some of her cousins, and I just shouted over the din, Sarah, come here. And then everybody knew that this was bigger than just what we'd been living. In that moment, I found myself naturally, and I guess this was affirming to know that this was the natural place to go, going to one person. There was only one place I could be when I got this news about my dad. And before God, I kept reciting a verse from the Bible that talked about how in life and in death we belong to you, God. In life and in death, he belongs to you, God. In life and in death, we, all of us in this family, belong to you, God. So you've got this covered on all sides, including all of us. And if he dies, then he dies. And I will miss my dad, but you've got that covered. It was a powerful reminder of my mortality and the mereness of all of our lives. So, what does your life really mean? And why in the world did God put you here? All of the things you've done all week this week, at work or at holidays, all of the mere mortal meanderings that you've done that so many others have done before you. People are born and they die all the time. They have throughout history. It's the same old story. What in the world are you here for? Why does your life matter? The writer of Ecclesiastes starts by writing this. Everything is meaningless, says the teacher, utterly meaningless. What do people get for all their hard work? Generations come and go, but nothing really changes. The sun rises and sets and hurries around to rise again. The wind blows south and north, here and there, twisting back and forth, getting nowhere. The rivers run into the sea, but the sea is never full. Then the waters return again to the rivers and flow again to the sea. Everything is so weary and so tiresome. No matter how much we see, we're never satisfied. No matter how much we hear, we're not content. History merely repeats itself. It has all been done before. Nothing under the sun is truly new. What can you point to that is new? How do you know it didn't already exist long ago? We don't remember what happened in those former times, and in future generations, no one will remember what we are doing now. I, the teacher, the one who wrote Ecclesiastes, was king of Israel, and I lived in Jerusalem. I devoted myself to search for understanding and to explore by wisdom everything being done in the world. And I soon discovered that God has dealt a tragic existence to the human race. Everything under the sun is meaningless, like chasing the wind. What is wrong cannot be righted, and what is missing cannot be recovered. I said to myself, look, I'm wiser than any of the kings who ruled in Jerusalem before me. I have greater wisdom and knowledge than any of them. So I worked hard to distinguish wisdom from foolishness. But now I realize that even this was like chasing the wind. For the greater my wisdom, the greater my grief. To increase knowledge only increases sorrow. Have you ever come to the point in your life where you've realized that what you've just been so desperately pursuing for so long and with so much heart and passion is never going to get you what you think you want?